So with that, I'm going to pass you over to Melanie, who's going to pick up and begin the rest of the session. Thank you.
Hi, David. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for joining our webinar this afternoon. It really is a very exciting time to be in corporate real estate and facilities management right now. We have a very different seat at the table as technology solution providers, whether internally or as a partner, as the industry continues to keep pace with digital transformation. While integrated platforms and data aggregation continues to be a main focus and topic of the dialogue, we've seen a shift over the past 2 years with a major focus on employee well-being and space optimization. Today, JLL, partnered with FM Systems, will take you through top trends for employee well-being and space optimization, some key industry trends that are driving changes to the future of workspaces, an introduction to our partner, FM Systems, and their new market-leading workspace solution, and advice on how to deliver industry-leading workspaces. And try to keep you entertained in the meantime. Just very briefly, an introduction to JLL Digital Solutions. JLL is one of the leading global providers of real estate and facility management services. We have a division, Digital Solutions, that focuses on working with clients and their immediate pain points to enable technology to help take you through the digital transformation journey in order to improve employee well-being, create cool, flexible spaces where your employees are engaged and collaborative, and identify technology strategies to drive your bottom line. We're one of the biggest players in the market focusing on corporate real estate and technology. We have over 1,000 people just in digital solutions alone. We have over 1,500 active projects and a 92% renewal rate. We also host our own internal market-leading research study. We performed a survey on over 561 CRE leaders in over 30 countries to help identify the top trends in corporate real estate moving into 2020. Clients want to measure success, and success is measured in employee engagement. How can we manage and measure this? Metrics that matter are one of the top priorities as traditional metrics will continue to evolve. Inclusive workplaces drive innovation and creativity, and the need to understand your space and how it's being utilized drives how new workspaces are created and considered flexible space. All while companies try to balance these efforts with initiatives with further sustainability efforts. The 9-to-5 workday as we know it has changed. It's changing where we work, how we work, who we work with, and more importantly, how organizations attract and retain top talent. Let's take a look at industry research which supports these top trends. But quickly, before we move into that, we'll do a very short poll. Do you have a clear view of some of the metrics needed in your organization to measure effectiveness and performance of your workspace in order to have access to quality insights? So I encourage you just to vote yes or no, or even if you're not sure. I'll go ahead and say no. Okay, now that we've taken a moment to do a short poll, we'll move into some Verdantix research that helps support our JLL research. Verdantix performed a survey of over 304 senior corporate real estate and facility management executives across 6 regions and 18 industries, looking at both near and medium-term strategies over the next 3 years. Not surprisingly, in this report, which was published in September 2019, one of the top trends over the next 3 years influencing CRE strategy is building occupant well-being and productivity. And 91% of respondents indicated that this would influence their strategy over the next 3 years. Additionally, maximizing space optimization was shown to be very influential with over 90% of responders, and improving technical data and connectivity from smart building technologies is a trend very influential to respondents. These influential trends over the next 3 years will shape the very way we work, where we work, how we connect, and how we collaborate with each other. Shortly, we'll take a look at the technology solution from FM Systems that addresses all three of these trends and more. Before we move on to that and discuss our partnership with FM Systems, we'll do another very quick poll. What are the needs in the research we just discussed that your company might need to review in order to seek better solutions? Is it improved employee engagement and productivity, improving space planning and utilization, or improved data and analytics for workplace management? I'll give you just a moment or two to respond to the poll. Okay, great. So before we move on into an actual demo of the system, which is the real exciting part of our discussion today, I'll just briefly touch on the partnership between JLL and FM Systems. We've been a strategic partner since 2018 and a business partner since 2009. We have over 100 active clients globally. We have a team of 21 dedicated FM Systems specialists, and we focus on providing a holistic approach to projects through people, process, and technology. We underpin this strong partnership with our strong subject matter expertise that ranges from space to analytics, employee enablement, real estate, and maintenance. And with that, I will turn it over to Kevin Fitzpatrick, Managing Director at FM Systems, to take you through an intro to FM Systems.
Thanks, Melanie. Hello, everyone. As you've heard, I'm Kevin Fitzpatrick, Managing Director of FM Systems in EMEA. FM Systems enters 2020 with very significantly enhanced capability to our market leadership in space management. Through the acquisition of Rethinking and Assure Workplace, we now have the most comprehensive platform available. We are perfectly positioned to supply what leading CRE professionals say they need in 2020. Optimize building occupancy and employee productivity, maximizing utilization, improve connectivity and information from the smart building environment. Next slide, please, Melanie. The best way to understand this is as two pillars bridged by analytics. With FMS Workplace, CRE and workplace professionals have all the tools and information required to manage and optimize building portfolios, workspaces, services, and suppliers. FMS Employee provides the building user what they need to use the workspace, desk and meeting reservation, with all the services you'd expect associated with that, and visitor management. FMS Analytics uses all the data captured during day-to-day business use to provide unparalleled insight to executive and senior management. This can be from sensors, access control, Wi-Fi, resource management, very often leveraging the data you already have. We appreciate you've made significant investments over the years on various systems and services, and we aim to help you exploit that rather than replace it. This is the most comprehensive platform available. And the great news is you can use which aspects of it that you need. We understand you have existing systems and capabilities and expect to integrate rather than replace where you have that existing functionality. So, for example, our sensors, access control, and Wi-Fi tracking can be implemented in whatever combination you want. We want to help you build on your investments, not, as I said, replace them. We're also really proud of how quickly this can be done. Initial deployment is possible within a month from project kickoff to results being received. Again, next slide, please, Melanie. In the upcoming demo, we'll show you how you can deliver tangible benefits quickly, but also create a foundation that supports continual evolution. We all know that the only constant is change, and our platform provides immediate operational and longer-term strategic benefits. It gives you the real-time insights to exploit immediate opportunities for cost saving. You'll see the data extremely quickly. It'll enable you to design and deliver the workspaces your employees need and plan for strategic change of whatever combination, whether it's growth, retrenchment, amalgamation. Now, I'm sure you want to see what I keep promising. So I'll hand over to Hannah Graziano, our Director of Solutions Consulting and Technical Sales, to show you how we achieve this. Hannah?
Great, thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon, everybody. Very excited to be here with you all today and show you some of the ways that FM Systems and JLL, through our partnership, are able to provide this value with analytics to our clients. So before we dive into the solution here, just really to build on what Melanie and Kevin have been speaking about, oftentimes corporate real estate and space planners may be aware of inefficiencies in their utilization or shortcomings in their employee mobility tools, but how do you evidence that? And anecdotally, the sensors will give you that hard empirical evidence. Here, touching on the cost aspect, when we think about things like our energy costs and improving sustainability, maybe a little bit less tangible, but of course, all of this technology feeds into carbon reduction. There's the possibility to link sensor outputs directly to a building management system to more intelligently deliver HVAC based on building occupancy. Furthermore, the user experience is really key here as employee mobility continues to grow. And I'm going to show you the ways that users are able to leverage our live sensor data as a part of the user experience in your buildings. Ultimately, the challenge behind the need for data is really that real estate is all about balance. Too much space is wasted capital, too little space will hurt productivity. And organizations know this, but really need IoT technology to empower them with the reliable, objective, empirical evidence in order to drive change. And really just calling out here that the key items we're discussing on this slide relate directly back to the top 3 Verdantix trends that Melanie was calling out. Leveraging IoT and employee mobility tools to really solve some of these inefficiencies we may have within our locations. So you may be thinking, what are the sources for this data that can give us better utilization information, and where does this come from? So diving in here to some of the common data sources or sensor technologies that we commonly work with, really all providing different benefits depending on what the organization would like to achieve and what questions they are looking to answer with the data. For example, the environmental fusion sensor can easily track utilization of an area, as well as temperature, humidity, noise, air pressure, a very unintrusive and anonymous option. Whereas the PIR sensor will give you utilization data for specific workspaces or seats, scalable in the sense that they can be deployed for a short-term study or for more long-term utilization tracking. You'll also notice badge and Wi-Fi there in the top left-hand corner as an option. And really being able to leverage that existing infrastructure. So some of the solutions in FM Systems set here allow us to leverage that existing infrastructure without necessarily installing new hardware to not only better understand our utilization, but how our employees are flowing through our spaces. So through use of machine learning and intelligent algorithms, we're able to take that badge and Wi-Fi data, as well as additional sources if desired, and sanitize or harmonize the data, removing any PII, dissipating any privacy concerns. So with just that, existing data that you probably may have access to today, we can better understand and visualize the way employees, departments flow through a space, how mobile employees in a given department or location, how they may vary, as well as booking or reservation information. So when we talk about some of the key analytics or data points that can really help us intelligently solve our inefficiencies, what are those key findings that this data can provide? Typically, the questions and answers we're hearing are, 1, are we currently using our space efficiently? And 2, do we have an opportunity to do better? And if the answer is yes, which almost always it is, then where do those opportunities exist? In this example here, we're able to determine which days are the most highly utilized, calling out that even at peak utilization, there was still 25% of workspaces available. as well insight into the different environmental factors as well. So here, looking at, the CO2 levels based against our utilization within that location that we're evaluating. Now what we're seeing is a rather small sample set. So let's take a look at some real client examples and dive into the solution here. First, touching on a case study with the Environment Agency. So just setting the stage here, a little bit of background. A national government agency that had corporate office space had two properties, and they were facing, two properties in a close proximity, and they were facing a lease end. They had the option to either renew for 3 years at a cost of around £1.5 million, or could they better utilize their space in their other existing location to house those 125 staff members that currently reside in the location that has a lease ending. So they had a feeling that, that one location was not being fully utilized. There was an opportunity to potentially seat those staff members there in that location. But how do we really, intelligently say that or come up with the information to make sure that that is the case? So using a sensor study, what the Environment Agency was able to determine after 12 weeks was that they, conclusively evidenced that there was significant underutilization of Building A, and they would be able to comfortably seat those additional staff that are coming from the other location. Furthermore, they found inefficiencies around their operating hours. So really, limited usage outside of the core hours, which allowed them to also cut down on costs by saving on HVAC and cutting off, different amenities that are within the building outside of those working hours. So all in all, by being able to release the lease of their building and then understand some of the environmental factors allowed them to better realize some of those cost savings. So what does that really look like? Here, I'll go ahead and dive into the solution. So what we're seeing, a very high-level space utilization dashboard. I will call out that this is, the solution is accessed over a web browser, easy to interact with, very intuitive. Here I can filter down to various locations. I can also filter based on different time ranges. So if I want to look at different periods of time, you'll notice here that our average utilization is hovering around 39.6 or 40%. And technically the working hours within this office are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. However, if I come in and start to manipulate some of the working hour information, we see the analytics update, we see that our average utilization is increasing. So here's how we can begin to call out some of those time-based inefficiencies. Calling out some of the other additional data that you can see here. So looking at our utilization by department. At any point, I can click into a department and see additional or relevant details for just that department. I can toggle between different floors. So now I can see, where this department resides on a floor. We can easily call out that, there's an area of unoccupied or consistently unoccupied space. Maybe there's a problem there. Is there an HVAC vent or, an air vent that is blowing right down onto those desks? So being able to answer some of those high level or, begin to investigate some of those high level questions. Furthermore, we can look here and look at that utilization by floor. We can understand that our lowest utilization is on that ground floor. So maybe if I toggle back there, we can easily see, the floor plan is a little bit of a different layout, a lot of lobby area. Then calling out here where we have those occupiable spaces, if I click in and see, this space is only occupied 8.7% of the time, I can easily understand, oh, it's the FM group. They're likely out in the field completing work and getting tickets taken care of. So just being able to, call out those outliers and then understand what the information or what the data is telling you. The floor plans here we can fully interact with. So I've clicked into a few spaces. We can see this, kind of traditional color coding. Or for the sake of privacy, we may just want to show a heat map that is more generalized. So I can, just show general areas of utilization, not necessarily focusing on the individual spaces. So at this level, we've been able to see some of that high-level utilization data, but really not enough to kind of dive in and understand the trends over time. So we can't necessarily say that, yes, we have enough space for those employees that are moving over from the other location just based on what we're seeing here. However, I did mention that there's a few different available dashboards that have linked reports. So here, looking at the time utilization, this allows us to, not just see those average numbers, but seeing how this compares over time. We can quickly call out that, consistently Friday is the least occupied day. So seeing that trend line there, if I just select, the other days of the week, we see a more consistent trend line. But again, easy to interact with, easy to understand, different reports and graphs that can easily be accessed by any user group. Here I can just toggle if I only want to look at certain times of the day. Again, different ways to slice and dice or understand the information. So here you can see, with the trend line, and I'll go ahead and expand this out, even at our peak utilization, we say that's, here at 67.8%, we were still only utilizing 45 spaces out of 800. So now we can begin to answer some of those questions that, over this time period, throughout the course of a day, over, different weeks, our peak was still, we still had over 200 spaces available for use. So starting to see that space can definitely be better utilized, better understanding if we can move those employees to this location. Taking it one step further and really diving into some of the sensor data. So getting into kind of the nuts and bolts, understanding the sensor readings here. Key thing to call out is that all of the information we've been looking at can be exported or taken out of the solution. And it's especially relevant here because we may need to take this out to Excel and kind of put it in pivot charts and work with it. However, you'll notice that we do have filters here. So I'll go ahead and say I want to group by building. And what you're seeing are essentially, for the different days, what the sensor readings are, and then totaling that all up here on the right-hand side. So if we come back and change our hour parameters to encompass those working hours that are set, the standard 7 to 7, we can begin to see some of those trends, depicted. So understanding that, our utilization is worst early and late in the day, as to be expected. But what's kind of surprising here is that, throughout the course of a day, we're not achieving peak utilization in many of our spaces. Even though we're seeing some green, we're still not hitting that close to 100% or exceeding 80%. So really calling out now that we have those inefficiencies on a regular, consistent basis. This is looking at the course of a month. And then being able to call out the numbers here. So at this point, we can really say, okay, at our peak, we were only seating X amount of employees, and that leaves us in excess of so many seats that can bring over, or we can accommodate those 100 employees that were previously at the other location. So really just circling back, we do have that room. We can make the decision here to begin to plan on how we will move those employees over. We can also use some of the utilization data to help better restack our locations. But all in all, I just wanted to give a kind of that quick overview summary of the different levels of granularity that we can get into and kind of understand here within the analytics. So where else have we had luck or had success doing this? A few other case studies to talk about and really emphasizing the flexibility that, some sensor studies are deployed permanently to get an ongoing understanding of utilization, and then others for short periods of time. So here we're looking at with Wolters Kluwer, we were able to immediately call out inefficiencies in space, reduce their space square footage, as well as save lease money with just a 3-month sensor study. And these sensors can be installed, over the course of a weekend. We actually deployed them in our Raleigh office, and it was done, within 2 days, which actually brings me to my next point. So here, looking at, this is actually our FM systems office and some of the data that we've been collecting. one of the first questions that we wanted to answer is around some of our conference spaces and why they're so poorly utilized. So we get continuous temperature complaints from the development conference room that it's too hot or too cold. Being able to compare the utilization data with another data set, such as our temperature information or things that are coming from those environmental sensors, we can now see that there's an issue with the HVAC system, calling out that it's peaking when more occupants are within the space. And by the end of the day, feasibly, we could see the system isn't working properly by determining those outliers and deploy or, send out a facility team to go and fix the issue or investigate the issue that's being experienced. Now, switching gears a little bit, collecting the utilization data and more efficiently planning our space for employee or user experience is definitely a key part of it. And with Birkbeck University, that is definitely one of the things that we focused on, was deploying sensors to make sure utilization, was hitting the benchmarks that they wanted to. In using that sensor data, they were able to determine that they can better, lay out their floors or their library here in this case, to allow for cost avoidance by not leasing, getting new space, but also making it a more user-friendly environment, bringing in new technology for students. So again, reiterating here that we're talking not only about the sensor insight that the university was able to leverage, but then as an ongoing achievement here, we were able to provide digital signage that allowed the staff, faculty, students to see real time on a floor plan where availability was throughout the library. So being able to see when you walk in on a kiosk or from a mobile device where there is availability on the floor and easily go and sit down and occupy that space. So we've talked a lot about the utilization data and what that can give to you, but really, the other key aspect is that employee engagement and employee experience. Here's an example of that kiosk view that we actually have in our Raleigh office. So being able to see unoccupied space, recently occupied or currently occupied with the color coding there. This is pinging constantly, so it's updating, if not every minute, multiple times per minute, and updating that color code on the kiosk view there. Additionally, we do have interactive options that would allow for ad hoc booking of a conference room, event space, or a desk, as well as the ability to wayfind and look for where an employee may be seated on a floor. So there you see some of the different digital signage options to kind of enhance that employee experience as they come into a building. Now, of course, the other key element there is the mobile capabilities. So being able to use a mobile app to either create a meeting, find space, view that live view of sensor information to see where there's available space. Here, just quickly walking through how we can create a meeting from a mobile app on our phone. Being able to view upcoming reservations, use tools such as scanning a QR code. So when we get to the space, we could scan that QR code, or we can use that to automatically check in. But again, kind of full circle here, not only are we providing these solutions for our employees to better engage with and interact with the buildings, but we're also using this to collect data. So from all of these different sources, we can now leverage that data, whether it be through the sensor deployment or leveraging our badge and Wi-Fi data to make more, strongly educated decisions around our real estate and then more strategically plan for that space. With that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Mel for closing remarks. And I just want to thank you all for giving us the time today.
Thanks, Hannah, and really nice overview of the capability. So just very quickly, we'll take you through, before we wrap up and walk into Q&A, just focusing on our unique capabilities between FM Systems and JLL. Together, we focus on rapid deployment with easy, scalable solutions that can land and expand to complement your CRE strategy or your technology roadmap. We pair this with industry experts at JLL and global scalability across all of our best practices. And with that, we will move into Q&A. So if there's any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box. Oh, let's see. Okay. How does sensor data connect with the analytics platform? RESTful API? Hannah, would you like to take that from James?
Sure. Yeah. So depending on the sensor device that we're talking about, there's different ways that we can connect, but most typically that is through a RESTful API. Definitely happy to discuss that further with you, James, in regards to the specific types of sensor technology.
Thank you, Hannah. We've had a couple other questions that David pinged over to me that have come in as well. So first, what makes FM Systems different from other CRE or IWMS tech suppliers? Kevin, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I'll have a go. Without trying to make it sound too salesy, I'd say a few things really. The scope of the solution, which hopefully Hannah's been able to show everyone. We have all the traditional capability of an IWMS, but we see ourselves, and I think it's been recognised as leaders in space management. For example, Autodesk, who are familiar with all the products available, of course, providers of AutoCAD and Revit. What do they use themselves for space management? FM Systems. And then now we've added in the capability of from Refinity and Assure Workplace. We've got a full end-to-end solution where we provide all the IWMS and support the people operating the building and managing suppliers and managing services, the building user, whether an employee, contractor, visitor, and senior management, to get all the intuitive and insightful analytics that could be wanted. So I think it's the scope from the different user profiles and uses, as well as the functionality. And we're an open platform, so we've got our own sensors and Wi-Fi capability, but we'll integrate with other people's. Hope that wasn't too salesy.
That was great, thank you. Next question from Michelle. How do you help companies decide how much space should be used for hot desks and how much space for informal or formal meeting room spaces? So either Hannah or Kevin, feel free to jump in.
Well, I'll have a go. Well, to be honest, I think this is where JLL come in. We, FM Systems, and I'm an FM Systems person, we pride ourselves on our technology, and we think we understand the industry, but the real expertise comes from JLL. So whether it's with our team or, more importantly, the global leader in property and workspace services, JLL, it's about matching your business objectives today and how you see them evolving with what our real-time honest data tells you. CRE professionals often know that their building is underutilized or they can spot opportunities. What we're able to do is give you the facts to back up your arguments and to explain to the various building users who never want to let go of space because they never believe things. You need to be able to show them verifiable data. But it's about matching what you're trying to achieve with your different workspaces, more collaboration, more private work, the ability to project teams to be assembled and disassembled. So it's about matching the business outcomes required with the tangible data, that bringing them together.
And that's a great point, Kevin. Thank you. So once we at JLL, we use the data from Occupy to be able to provide the metrics that matter or the visibility for enhanced decision making. We have workplace services team and occupancy planning teams that can help provide these consultancy services to really optimize that space, whether it's a floor, a building, or an entire complex or your entire portfolio. Next question. On the sensor technology, do they track if a desk is occupied, i.e. with someone actually sitting there? and or if the desk is utilized, i.e. desk is being used, but someone has stepped away for a call or a meeting and therefore not actually available. So Hannah, I think that's one for you to take, although I've seen the solution enough times where I probably could answer it, but I'd like the expert to answer it.
Sure. So just making sure I understand. I track a bit the.
You want me to have a
So you have the time limits on the sensors,
Yeah.
the red,
Yeah.
yellow, or green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
So it can,
Oh, sorry.
go
Sorry.
ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, it's the whole point is about configurability. So again, it's all about your business requirements. What sort of workplace rules do you want to follow in terms of whether a seat is freed up or not? Our sensors don't give false positives, so they can tell the difference between a bag on a seat and a person. But yes, if your workplace guidelines allow people to be away for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever, then the seat can be identified as freed up or not. So it's about, again, matching your business requirements with our configurable solution.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that time is configurable. And I think just to build on that, and Melanie, I don't want to jump ahead, but it really goes in line with one of the following questions. So
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
we can look at that from an individual desk perspective or also zones and neighborhoods. So actually the data that I was showing you in Occupy for the Environment Agency, they have zones and neighborhoods established. However, the sensors are on the individual seats. So that data can be rolled up to a zone or neighborhood level, and it's all based on the client's needs. So whether it be, one-to-one seating or zone seating, or the configurable time to say if it's occupied or unoccupied, there's a lot of different options for that just across, the variety of sensor offerings and data sources we can leverage.
Thanks, Hannah. And last but not least, we had one other question that popped up. How quickly can the solution be implemented and the benefits realized? And I think I can take this one. I think one of the unique points of this solution is the fact that the initial deployment of sensors or other data capture methods can be a matter of weeks. And for access control and Wi-Fi, we can process some historical data really quickly. So this allows us to give insights very quickly within a matter of weeks to the client with these dashboards, a standard offering deployed within 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the size of the portfolio, connectivity requirements, and number of sensors. So the real time to realize the benefits depends on how quickly our clients can move as well. But the beauty of this is it doesn't take months or 6 months to deploy. We can get this up and running in anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. Let's see if there's any other
Mel,
questions.
hi, it's David. Just also to point out, we actually have a couple of other questions within the chat box.
I just saw those. Here we
I don't know
go.
if you can have a quick look at those too.
So George asks, can the data from sensors tie in with FM Interact, or are they two separate systems? Could we use the same files for floor plans for all solutions, or do you need a separate CAD file for each system? Hannah?
So we can leverage, you do not need a CAD file for each system, but rather we can leverage those across solutions.
And George is Kevin. Yes, what you want, we can do, and I'm happy to discuss separately with you.
Thank you. And next from Mario, what are main trends you're seeing in meeting room usage and space, e.g. more huddle spaces, more informal meetings? So yes, that's absolutely the trend that the industry is moving into. It's more of this flexible WeWork type of environment where you have spaces that employees feel they can collaborate in, communities they're being called more, and a very flexible kind of encouraging spaces for collaboration. And Kevin or Hannah, if you wanted to add anything to that last question, feel free.
No, I think you captured it.
Okay. All right, well, that is it for today. Again, we really thank you. We understand how busy everybody is and appreciate you choosing to spend 45 minutes with us today. And just moving into our last slide here, If you would like to contact either Kevin or myself for any follow-up or further information on what we've presented today, whether it be industry trends or the actual solution and Occupy itself, FM Interact as well, please feel free to contact myself at melanie.mac@eu.jll.com or Kevin Fitzpatrick at kfitzpatrick@fmsystems.com. And we're both located in EMEA and responsible for EMEA. So with that, thank you very much. This is available for recording if you'd like to listen to it again and or share with any of your colleagues. Have a wonderful day and thank you for attending.